In this video, we're going to be talking about where Jeff Nippard went wrong in his altercation with Big Mike Van Wyck. Now, typically, I like to stay away from topics like this. I don't really do news reporting kind of content and current event type of stuff. I typically stick to my personal fitness journey and sharing my knowledge and experience with helping hundreds of clients transform their physique. But I think this is a very valuable lesson that a lot of people can learn from. So I want to make a video on this. And before you guys rage out in the comments like, Jeff didn't do anything wrong, I fully agree. I don't think Jeff did anything wrong to deserve what happened to him. However, there are things that he could have done differently to prevent what happened to him. And we're going to explain that in this video. So basically, guys, when you're a man and you live in the real world, things like this can happen even if they're unprovoked. Jeff did not deserve what happened to him. Big Mike Van Wyck was completely out of line with everything that he did. There was no reason for him to take it that far. First of all, Jeff's response was incredibly respectful, incredibly professional, and he was more or less just giving his thoughts on this guy's post. And I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you've probably seen the post and seen Jeff's reaction post. There was nothing disrespectful about it. There was no personal attack. And even if there was, it still doesn't call for what happened, right? In my opinion, the only time physical violence is necessary and warranted is, for one, if somebody is about to assault you, like what happened in that video, right? If Jeff would have struck first as Mike was approaching him like that, in my mind, that's valid because he was about to get attacked, right? So if somebody's about to strike you or about to commit violence to you, or if they already have committed violence to you, you absolutely have the full right to commit violence back. Also, if somebody puts their hands on your loved ones in a very disrespectful way, like, threatening them and, that type of stuff, that's fully warranted. If somebody ever disrespects my girlfriend, my parents, or any of the friends that I'm with in a way that is threatening, or if they put hands on anybody that I'm with, any of my loved ones, we're fighting, right? I think that's fully warranted as well. But that's the only times. It's really only when it's potentially life or death and there's really no other course forward, right? And that's my opinion on it. And obviously you guys can have your own opinion on it, but I think most men who live in the real world and who don't live in Delulu land would probably agree with that, violence is sometimes necessary. In this situation, it absolutely was not. But the problem is where Jeff Nippard went wrong is he didn't recognize that violence was even about to happen. He had no clue that he was about to get assaulted. But if you watch the clip, you can see, and you can't see the whole way where Big Mike closes the distance, but you can see he had closed distance on him, and you can see it on his face, and you can see his right hand rearing up, and his face is changing, and Jeff is just standing there smiling. He has no clue that he's about to get shoved in the throat 10 to 15 feet. And this is serious, guys. Like, Jeff could have very literally lost his life. That throat punch could have really damaged his throat and messed up his breathing. He also could have hit his head on a piece of equipment, right? The gym is a terrible place to get in a physical altercation because you can fall over, hit your head on a piece of equipment, and literally die. That could have happened. Jeff could have lost his life in this situation, and Big Van Mike could have been going to jail for manslaughter or murder, right? That could have happened. It's a very real possibility, and this is why I'm making this video, because shit like this does happen to people. People who don't deserve it end up getting jumped and end up getting in fistfights for absolutely no reason, but they're not aware to what's about to happen to them, and they have no clue how to defend themselves. And Jeff is a perfect example of this. Jeff has done nothing but good in the fitness industry for a very long time. He's helped millions and millions of people in their fitness journey. I think he has like 6 million subscribers or something like that. Who knows how many people have bought his programs and, followed his advice. It's got to be in the millions, right? He's nothing but good, and we all know that. Everybody who follows him and, is in touch with the fitness industry knows that Jeff Nippard's a great guy. He didn't deserve what happened, but it happened. And if Jeff was situationally aware at all, it wouldn't have happened. It didn't have to happen. Or he could have at least defended himself and actually gotten to a scrap where things didn't have to go the way they happened, right? Because now you could argue that it happened for the best because they didn't actually get into a scrap, but I wouldn't agree with you. I would say if things like this are going to happen, it's always better to defend yourself and put a fight back up. That's my opinion. I think it's always better to at least be some sort of threat to the person that's also threatening you, right? But that's besides the point. That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is Jeff probably has lived a very comfortable, good life where he never had to worry about getting into fights. He never had to worry about people threatening him, as most men do. Most men, the majority of men, have never really had a situation where they were going to have to get in a fight. Now, I'm from South Louisiana, about 25 minutes outside of New Orleans. This type of thing is very normal where I'm from. I didn't get into a lot of fights when I was growing up. I'm not going to sit here in front to you guys, but there were multiple circumstances where I had to get into fistfights. I had no other option. It was literally either fight or just get the shit beat out of me. That was the only options, right? So growing up in that environment, and again, it wasn't a bad environment. I'm not trying to say I'm from the slums by any means. It's just kind of a bit of Southern culture where if somebody talks shit and this person talks shit, you're going to solve it with a fist fight, right? Or if this group's having a problem and this group's having a problem, it's going to be a group fight. That's kind of just what happens, right? It's not like I'm not saying I grew up poor, I'm not saying I grew up in the slums, but it's just part of the environment to where fist fights are going to happen. But most men don't grow up in that environment, and they have no clue what it means when a situation is about to turn violent. They aren't really aware of that situation, and they don't have any martial arts training, they don't have any self-defense training, so they're not aware. But if you were to have that training, or if you were to have any sort of experience in situations like this, you would know that when Big Mike Van Wyck told Jeff Nippard, "Oh, it's about to get real funny in here." I believe that's what he said. I'll put a screenshot if I can find it. But Jeff shared like their conversation, and basically he told Jeff, Jeff chuckled at something he said. He's like, "Oh, you think that's funny? It's about to get real funny in here," or something along those lines. Guys, that is a threat. That is fighting words. If you've never been in a fight and you've never been in that environment, that is a physical threat, and that is fighting words. And at that point, your spidey senses should be tingling. You should know that, oh, this is about to get violent. I either need to prepare to fight or I need to find an exit route, which would have been Jeff's best scenario, right? Rather than just standing there, he could have looked around, tried to see where he can create some space, which is what he should have done. He should have tried to create some space between him and Big Mike. But because he was unaware of what was about to even happen, he had no clue to create some space or try to get away from this guy, and he just got fucking punched in the throat, or it was more of like a shove to the throat. But it could have been even worse than that. He could have punched him clean in the jaw. He could have hit him with a nasty-ass uppercut and really hurt Jeff. It could have turned very badly for Jeff and, of course, for Mike. If he would have actually killed Jeff, he would be going to jail for the rest of his life, right? Lose-lose situation. These situations are always lose-lose. I'm not trying to say that this is a good situation, and I pray none of us, myself or anybody watching this video, ever end up in a situation like this. But I'm saying you have to be prepared in a situation like this. And Jeff had no spidey sense. His spidey sense was not going off at all. You can see as he's walking up to Jeff, and there's only a few little moments before I think the cameraman started rolling when he realized kind of what was happening. I think Jeff told him, make sure you record this. Like, good on him, right? He was aware enough to say, "I'll record this just in case we need the proof," but he wasn't aware enough to know what to do, right? That in itself is a red flag as a man. And again, no disrespect to Jeff. I think he's a phenomenal guy. I've learned a lot from his channel, as most of us have. But as a man, you need to be competent. You need to be aware in these situations, and you need to know how to defend yourself and how to defend your family. Maybe you don't have kids right now. I don't have kids right now. But I want to know that if a situation ever arose like this, or I'm out in public and some fucking dumbass like Big Mike Van Wyck threatens me, that I know what to do and I know how to defend myself, and I know he's not about to just fuck me up and fuck my family up, right? I don't want that. And you shouldn't want that either. And you should know how to defend yourself. You should know how to, at least the very least create space and be situationally aware so these things don't happen, right? So I think with all that said, I think it's safe to say that every man should train some form of martial art. Now, you might be thinking, "Oh, well, Drew, that's a very general statement." And it is a very general statement. You probably also might be thinking, "Well, Drew, I don't think this will ever happen to me. I'm a great guy. I would never disrespect anyone." Jeff thought the same thing. That's why Jeff didn't react appropriately to this circumstance. And they might be thinking, "Oh, he did the right thing. He was the bigger man." But he could have fucking died. He could have actually fucking died if things would have gone a little bit different, if he was a few feet to the right, or if Big Mike was super angry and decided to jump on top of him after he fell and just start throwing down hammer, fist, and elbows, right? He could have literally killed him. So it's that real. And you need to know how to fight, because the unfortunate truth is the things like this happen to people who don't deserve it, Jeff did not deserve that at all. It was completely unwarranted, but it happened to him, and he ended up in the hospital getting MRIs or whatever to make sure that he was actually okay. It could have been really bad. And you, maybe you're a great guy. Maybe you would never disrespect someone to that point. I wouldn't either, but I know how to fight. I know how to defend myself. I know when a threat's coming because I recognize that these things can happen and it is a possibility. And I think most men live in a bubble where they don't think these things are possibilities, and they are possibilities. And it's very real, and you need to be able to defend yourself. So I truly, firmly believe that every man should train martial arts. I think every guy should know how to throw a nice, crisp, clean punch with their left and their right hand. I think every man should know how to defend themselves, how to put up a nice guard, how to know, okay, I'm safe right here, I'm not getting punched, how to gauge distance so you know when you can hit someone and when someone can hit you versus when you're safe and when you also can't hit them. You should know how to gauge distance, and I think every man should know how to grapple some. Just the basics of these things completely prevent what happened in the gym with Jeff Nippard and Mike Van Wyck. And they might be thinking, well, what else would have happened? They actually would have gotten a fight if Jeff knew how to fight. And they probably would have actually gotten a fight. But when you learn those skills, you also just become more aware of the potential of somebody using those same skills on you. So you gain more situational awareness simply by being in that environment and training martial arts. He would have never got that close to Jeff if Jeff trained martial arts. He would have known to back up, put his arms out, create some distance. Hey man, I don't want any problems. I'm good. I don't want any problems, right? That enough is just, he's got space. Or he could have, and this is gonna sound funny, but as he's closing the distance, you can literally see him, his facial expression changes, and you can see him start to move his hand towards Jeff's face. Like any trained martial artist would have seen that coming from a mile away, right? You can see as he's closing the distance, his facial expression changes, and he's starting to rear his hand up, right? At that point, Jeff literally could have shot a double leg. He could have, and it would have been absolutely hilarious to see, right? Imagine Jeff Nippard shooting a double leg on a big-ass dude. But right there, right? That dude goes to close the distance, Jeff double legs him, boom, puts him down, gets up, and freaking runs, right? Safe. Situation nullified. Jeff not getting hurt, the other guy ain't getting hurt. Instead, he got throat punched. And again, this is no disrespect to Jeff. I have nothing but praise for Jeff and everything. I'm using this as an example for men who live in delusion. You need to be competent, guys. You need to know how to fight. You need to know when something is escalating to that point. Straight up. You need to know when something is escalating to that point. You've got to fight for potentially your life, because anytime something does get to that point, it is now a fight for your life, because anything can happen, and it is a fight for your life, and you need to know how to win. You need to know how to win. You need to know how to win a fight. Even if somebody is substantially bigger than you, you need to have the confidence that you can defend yourself and get out of the situation or nullify the situation by any means necessary. And that might sound extreme to some of you, and maybe past me it would have sounded a little extreme too as well, but it's the truth, guys. It's just the reality. And guys who don't deserve to be put in situations like this get put into situations like this all the time. And so pick up a martial art, learn how to strike, learn how to grapple, and pick up more situational awareness. Be more aware, guys. You cannot, especially like there was bad blood, even though it was completely unwarranted. There was already bad blood there, and Jeff knew it and the other guy knew it. It was completely irrelevant and uncalled for, like I've said many times. And the dude who did this looks like a clown. He probably thought he was teaching Jeff a lesson. And I've seen some comments of people like, oh, Jeff Nippard finally learned his lesson. Like, run your mouth and you get hit. The dude wasn't running his mouth first and foremost. And it was basically a sucker punch. If you're that much bigger than somebody and you're sucker punching somebody, that doesn't look good. That's not cool. You're not badass, right? If he would have said, hey, I don't appreciate what you said, we're going to fucking fight. Put your guard up or I'm going to hit you. And then he put his guard up and then waited for Jeff to put his guard up and take a fighting stance. That's a little different. Even still, it's kind of bitch made in my opinion because the dude's so much bigger than Jeff. But regardless, these types of situations happen to guys who don't deserve it. And if you're a good guy and you never assume anything like this would happen to you, you need to reconsider. Let this be an example that good guys end up having bad things happen to them. And thankfully for Jeff, he's okay. And everything checked out at the hospital based off of everything that I've currently seen. But it could have been bad. It could have been really bad. So pick up a martial art, learn how to fight, gain some situational awareness, and just learn how to be a competent man. So I hope you guys found this video insightful, and I'm glad Jeff Nippard is okay. And I hope Big Van Mike Wick gets his gets whatever's coming to him, whether it's legal action or whatever sort of karma is coming his way, because what he did was completely uncalled for, and he'll get what's coming to him, whether it's through legal action or a big bully picking on him at some point in time. So with that said, guys, until the next video, keep pushing, keep persevering, and keep it positive.